Hey guys, tonight we journey into a world of soot-stained ceilings, bone-deep shivers, and childhoods traded for pennies. Picture this: you're 10 years old, but you don't remember ever playing. You sleep in a shared basement with 5 other kids, none related to you, though you all cough in unison. The room smells like damp wool and old coal dust. One rat squeaks past your foot and you'd barely react. It's still dark outside, but someone's already rattling the iron stairway to get up. Your toes find the cold stone floor like they're used to it. No socks, of course. Just the stiff remains of shoes that once had laces. You don't brush your teeth, because no one does. You don't eat breakfast, because there isn't one. Your job starts before the sun bothers to rise. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe it only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know where you're listening from plus your local time. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You pull on your patched-up jacket and head out into the street fog, your breath puffing white like a small steam engine. Every other kid looks like you: hollow eyes, bruised knees, clothes the color of London smog. The workhouse master said, "You should feel lucky. You're not begging. You're employed." That's supposed to be a step up. The factory looms ahead, windows glowing a dull yellow like the eyes of something too tired to blink. You hate the smell before you even enter. Oily smoke, old cloth, metal. It's strange how your body never stops feeling sticky in here, like the air itself has fingers. You clock in by nodding to the overseer, a man whose mustache has more authority than your entire existence. No, just a grunt and a motion toward the thread room. Pull loose threads from rolls of fabric as they fly past on spinning rollers. The fabric is fast. The knives that cut it are faster. Sometimes you forget which fingers still have nails. You bleed and keep going, because stopping means punishment. And punishment means the belt, or worse, the closet. It's not a real closet. It's a windowless box, where the air turns to soup, and time stops existing. You're not even the youngest. There's a boy here who's 5, maybe 6. They call him Cricket. You've never heard him speak. He's always coughing. You're not sure if he's mute, or just tired of trying. They make him clean under the machines while they're still on. His shoulders are covered in bruises, like polka dots made of failure. Historians still argue whether the factory owners truly believed children were more agile for this kind of work, or if that was just the polite way of saying cheaper. The walls of the spinning room shake like something alive. Machines hum, gears clank, and steam hisses from pipes like angry ghosts. The noise never stops. You don't even try to talk over it. Instead, you learn to lip read a bit. Not a lot. Point more. At mid-morning, a bell rings. Not for lunch, don't get your hopes up. It's time for shift rotation. You're moved to the boiler side. It's hotter here, and your cheeks go red with sudden heat. The air tastes like metal and ash. Someone once passed out here. You heard he never woke up. You don't ask questions. Questions make people look at you. Every so often, the manager strides through. He's got shiny boots. You catch yourself staring at them, wondering what his socks feel like. Probably warm, probably whole. Quirky fact: Victorians believed strong factory work built character in the poor. There were actual essays about this. One guy even argued that kids would become criminals if they didn't work young. Guess they never saw your blistered hands shaking over spools of cotton. The worst part: you start getting used to it. By mid-afternoon, the fatigue is a second skin. Your muscles throb, but your mind goes fuzzy enough to ignore it. You move on. Autopilot. Grab. Pull. Shift. Snip. Repeat. Someone yells in pain near the carding machine. The overseer tuts and tells her to wrap it and get back in line. You wonder what would happen if she just left. But you already know. They'd send the constable, or the master from the home. Or worse, her parents would get fined. If they're still around, there's a moment, brief and stupid, where you stare out the grimy window. It's almost dusk. The sky is purple with smoke, and for just a second, you pretend you're somewhere else. A field, maybe, with wind that smells like grass, not grease. But then the bell rings again, and it's over. Not the work, just the fantasy. One of the girls near you has a trick. She tucks tiny bread crusts in her pocket, saved from last week's lunch. You trade her a button for one. It's stale. It's heaven. Your back cracks as you step outside. The fog has returned. Maybe it never left. Your hands smell like machine oil. Your stomach growls like a kicked dog. And still you'll be back tomorrow. Same creaky floors, same cold toes. The factory floor breathes like it's alive, always wheezing and rattling, as if the building itself is too tired to keep standing. You duck through a narrow doorway, still chewing the inside of your cheek for a drop of saliva. No water breaks, no real rest, just more tasks. You're back at your post now, but today something's different. They've moved you to the carding room. Part of the factory they say is only for the lucky you. The machines here are massive and loud, with teeth like spinning saws. Their job is to clean and align cotton fibers so they can be spun into thread. Your job is to clear jams. If the fibers clump up, everything stops. And when everything stops, someone gets hit. You lean down low, eyes squinting through the grime, reaching for the trapped cotton tufts when you hear a click. Just a gear shift. Maybe. But you freeze. The girl beside you didn't freeze last week. She's not here anymore. Historians still argue whether factory managers ever took real precautions for child safety, or if they simply thought broken children were easier to replace than broken machines. The wooden floor under you is stained darker in some spots. You don't ask. You don't look too long. It's easier that way. They call this the sliver alley, though no one ever explained why. Maybe it's the long narrow walkway you crawl through. Maybe it's the slivers of fabric that stab your knees. Or maybe it's just a cruel joke. Everything's a bit of a cruel joke here. A boy to your left, Wilkie, tries to make you laugh by pulling faces. His front tooth is missing, but he says he lost it from punching the air too hard. He's 8. You chuckle anyway. Laughter is currency here. So are lies. You crawl into the narrow crawl space beneath the machinery. It's barely 2 feet high, coated in lint and oil, and the only light is what flickers through the slats above. You inch forward like a worm, brushing away clumps of cotton that look almost like snow if snow could choke you. Suddenly, the belt above snaps back into motion with a violent whir. The machine has been restarted, and you are still under it. You don't scream. You just freeze. You flatten yourself to the floor, every muscle tight, not breathing. You hear footsteps and muffled voices above. No one notices. No one stops the machine. You know the rules. Get in, clean it, and get out before the next spin cycle starts. You are late. By some miracle, the gears pass above you without catching your hair or your arm. You crawl out faster than you thought possible. Heart pounding. The overseer is standing there. He doesn't ask if you're okay. He asks why the lint wasn't cleared faster. You don't answer. You just nod. Because bruises heal slower than silence. Quirky tidbit. Some mill owners were so obsessed with speed and cleanliness that they'd hang up signs reminding workers to smile. Imagine that smiling, as if you're in a painting, while trying not to lose your fingers. You would take a moment behind a pillar to shake it off. You press your forehead to the cool brick and pretend you're somewhere else again. You imagine a feast stew with actual meat, bread that's warm, and maybe even a pear. You've never eaten a pear. You're not entirely sure they're real. Back to work. You rub your hands on your skirt and crawl back in. The repetition is the worst part. Every motion becomes so familiar it's maddening, like blinking in time to a metronome that never stops. A girl next to you whispers something, her lips barely moving. Don't let the machine see you bleed. You blink at her. She nods like it's the most obvious thing in the world. Maybe it is. You wonder if this is what growing up is. Not birthdays or cake, but learning which wounds to hide, which steps to skip, and which noises mean run. You catch a glimpse of the ceiling above the iron rafters, the yellowing gas lamps, the ghost of someone older who once did this job and maybe never stopped. You don't know who they are. You just know. This room never really forgets its workers. It eats them slowly. One day, Wilkie's sleeve gets caught. It happens in half a second. A whir, a jerk, a scream cut short. You don't move. Neither does anyone else. The overseer walks over, shuts down the machine, and tells 2 older boys to carry him out. His arm is bent in a way arms don't go. No one looks away, but no one says anything either. The machine starts up again 10 minutes later. There's lint in the air. Blood, maybe. You're not sure. Everything smells like oil and cotton and time that's gone missing. You think of Wilkie again as you work, and wonder if his tooth story was ever true. By evening, your knees are raw, your arms feel like jelly, and your eyes can barely focus. You're escorted out with the others, blinking against the dying daylight like you've just emerged from a cave. You don't speak. No one does. The air tastes like copper. The worst part isn't what happened. It's knowing it'll happen again. Maybe to you next time. The factory doesn't care who's inside it. As long as the thread spins, the gears grind, and the noise never stops. The chimneys twist above the rooftops, like giant blackened fingers clawing at the sky. You crane your neck up, squinting against the soot and sun, as the chimney sweep master barks orders from the alleyway. Up you go. Rat, he says, not kindly, not cruelly, just as if you were one more tool on his belt. You're 10, maybe 11, hard to say anymore, but you're thin, and that's what matters. Skinny enough to squeeze through a flue just wide enough for smoke, soot, and your body. You've heard the word child before, but no one uses it here. You're just a sweep, a climber, a crawler. You spit into your palms, rub them together, and press your back against the cold brick of the chimney. Then you start your ascent. One elbow, one knee, one toe, one breath. The soot fills your nose, coats your tongue, clings to your lashes. You blink, and it snows black. The inside of the chimney is tight, too tight. You have to twist slightly sideways just to move an inch. Your ribs press against the walls. The soot cakes in your mouth like wet flour. It's quiet in here, deathly so. Just the scratch of your nails and the low, slow beat of your heart as it decides whether this is a bad dream or the last one. Historians still argue whether the chimney sweep masters believed kids would grow into the job, or if they knew most wouldn't survive long enough to try. You're halfway up when you feel the flue curve. Bad news. Angled chimneys are murder. You wedge your body around it, ribs scraping brick. You push with your knees until something gives a loose stone, or a rat's nest. Either way, your balance shifts, and you slide back an inch. Then another. You lock your elbows. Don't scream. If you scream, you waste air. Air is precious. You wait, clinging, breathing, shallow, willing the chimney to hold still. Above you, the light is just a blur. Below you, darkness. And if you fall, there's no one to catch you, just a hearth, and the sudden absence of your name from the master's ledger. Quirky tidbit. Some chimney sweeps used to pray to St. Florian before crawling in. Others carried dried frogs in their pockets for luck. You've got nothing but scraped skin and a half-remembered hymn from your sister's lullaby. Eventually, you reach the top. The roof stretches like a sea of blackened shingles. You blink at the skyline, sooty tears running down your cheeks. You should feel proud. You'd survived another climb, but you're mostly thinking about the next one. The descent is worse. Your limbs are trembling now. The soot is in your ears, your mouth, under your fingernails. You try not to think about the boy who got stuck last winter. They said he froze solid before they pulled him out. That chimney was never used again. Or, so the master says. You think maybe they just replaced the boy, not the flue. When you emerge at the bottom, you're coughing so hard your stomach cramps. The master gives you a thump on the back, not for comfort, but to knock the dust loose. You spit black onto the cobblestones. The sky is still gray. It's always gray. Your hands shake as you rinse off at the water barrel. You scrub your arms raw, but you'll never be clean. Your skin smells like charcoal and metal. Some of the older kids joke that it's the smell of a future. You're not sure if they mean a good one. One of the girls Mary tells you about a sweep in Birmingham who was caught in a burning flue. They found him weeks later. Or maybe it was just a story meant to scare new kids into obedience. You wonder how many of these stories are true. Then again, does it matter? You try to catch your breath, lungs crackling like old paper. Your chest hurts in a new way today, deep and stabby. You try not to let anyone see. Historians often debate whether child sweeps had the worst job of all or if coal miners edged them out by a lung. You wrap your scarf tighter around your neck and lean against the wall. You're not allowed to go home yet. There's still another house to do. Bigger chimney, richer family. That means extra soot. You look down at your arm, scabbed, bruised, dusted with ash. You look like a ghost of yourself, or maybe a shadow of someone no one cared to remember. But here's the real kicker. The master says you're better off than most. After all, you have work. You're not a street beggar, not in the workhouse. He even gave you a crust of bread last week when you didn't faint. That counts for something. You hear laughter echoing from inside the house, a child's laughter. The boy who lives here, probably dressed in lace and velvet. He's never climbed a chimney, probably never even looked inside one. But he might become a politician one day, making speeches about rescuing the poor. You think of him often, not with hatred, with disbelief. Like someone might think of dragons. As the day dims, the cold creeps in again. You curl your toes inside your boots, or what's left of them. The lining's gone, and the soles have holes. You've stuffed paper inside, sometimes newspaper, sometimes torn book pages. You don't read the words. You don't have to. You carry them on your feet. When you get home, your shirt is stiff with soot. You sleep curled on your side. Try not to cough too hard and wake the others. The chimney dust clings to your scalp, even in your dreams. And somewhere in the silence, You hear Wilkie's laugh again. You're not sure if it's memory or imagination. You don't ask. Some things are better left floating in the soup. The match factory hums with a strange kind of quiet, no roaring machines here. Just the click of tiny sticks, the hiss of chemicals, and the low murmur of girls too tired to chatter. You sit cross-legged on a wooden floor, surrounded by trays of white-tipped matchsticks, dipping them one by one into the deadly solution with hands that won't stop shaking. You've been working here for months, maybe a year. Time is a fog when your days are identical. Same aching fingers, same foul air, same white dust clinging to your clothes like ghost powder. It smells sharp in here like rotten garlic and vinegar, biting the inside of your nose. The worst part, you're smiling, or pretending to, because the forewoman walks past often, and frowns are bad for morale. And bad morale is cause for dismissal. That's what the poster says in large block letters. Your job is simple. Dip the wooden sticks into a mixture of potassium chlorate, antimony, sulfide, glue, and white phosphorus. That last one is the killer. Literally. You've heard whispers about phossy jaw. The first signs are subtle. A dull ache in your teeth, maybe a bit of swelling. Then your gums rot. Then your jawbone glows in the dark and begins to disintegrate. Then, well, you're buried quietly. Not in a churchyard. Match girls don't get nice funerals. Historians still argue whether factory owners understood the risks of white phosphorus or if they simply didn't care enough to ask questions. You rub your cheek. Sore again. You tell yourself it's nothing. Maybe a bruise. Maybe you slept on that side wrong. You've seen other girls try to hide the swelling. One even packed her mouth with cotton to stop the smell. It didn't work. They sent her away. Nobody ever says where away is. Quirky fact. The smell of phossy jaw was said to be sweet. At first like apples rotting in the sun. But once you notice it, it never goes away. You sniff your sleeve. Just match dust. For now, the girl next to you, Ada, hums softly. She has a pretty voice. She's missing 3 fingers on one hand, but she still works faster than you. She used to be a singer at least. That's what she says. You don't ask why she stopped. You dip, tap, and place. Over and over. By noon, your legs are numb, your back knotted, your fingertips are yellow-stained and splitting. You suck on one and taste chemicals. A bell rings. Not for food, for ventilation. For 10 minutes each shift, they open the high windows and let in a breeze thick with city smoke, but still better than the fumes inside. You scramble up and lean against the windowsill. The outside world seems so far. The street below is crowded with carts, barking dogs, boys selling papers, and carriages clattering past. None of them look up. No one ever looks up. You remember once, months ago, someone protested outside. A doctor, maybe, or a reporter. Said child labor in match factories was a disgrace to Britain. Said girls were dying in the shadows. The factory shut for a day, then reopened. The man was never seen again. Ada tugs your sleeve. Break's over. You shuffle back to your mat. Your bones feel older than your age. You've stopped men. The other girls say it happens to everyone eventually. You're too tired to worry about it. You wonder if you'll ever be able to forget this smell. If, one day, when you're older, if you get older, you'll walk past a candle shop and flinch. If you'll dream of trays and trays of white-tipped sticks, endless and ticking like a clock made of poison. Someone collapses near the front. A new girl. They drag her out quickly, quietly. You pretend not to see. You keep dipping. The factory floor is stained with silent stories. Every mat has a history. You wonder what yours will be. You hope it doesn't end in the dark. Some night, you dream of candles, huge ones, taller than houses, their flames green and flickering. They chase you. You wake up coughing. They say there are safer factories now, places that use red phosphorus instead. But those are for the boys, or for girls, with connections. You don't even know what red phosphorus is. You just know this white stuff hurts your throat, your joints, and your future. Your shift ends as the gas lights flicker on. You stand, knees cracking, and stretch until your back grows. You've earned a halfpenny today. If you're lucky, you can buy bread. If you're not, it's water and a lie. On the way out, you pass a mirror cracked and dusty. You barely recognize yourself. Hollow cheeks, hair bleached by fumes, skin gray like paper left in the rain. You try to smile, just to see if you still can. Outside, the air is cold and wet, but at least it's moving. You tuck your hands into your armpits and walk quickly, head down, hoping not to be seen, or worse, spoken to. Someone laughs across the street, a man in a top hat, tossing coins at a barking dog. You wonder what he does for work. Then you wonder if he's ever had soot in his teeth, or blood in his shoes, or dreams of glowing jaws. You reach your lodging house. 10 girls to a room. You curl up on your cot, pull the blanket over your shoulders, and tell yourself the ache in your cheek is just from clenching your jaw too tight. You whisper goodnight to Ada. She doesn't respond. She's already asleep. Or pretending. You close your eyes and count matchsticks instead of sheep. 1. The mine shaft yawns open like the throat of something ancient and starving. You stand at the edge, holding a flickering oil lamp and a half-hearted breath. The morning fog wraps around your shoulders like a cold shawl, but the earth below promises no warmth. Just darkness. Always darkness. Down you go, kid, the overman mutters, barely looking at you. You don't know his name. You don't think he knows yours. You step into the rickety cage with 3 other children, 2 boys and a girl, all younger than you. You clutch the lamp with both hands as the chains above rattle to life. With a groan and a jerk, the platform descends. Down, down, and still farther down. The light fades fast. Sunlight turns to shadow, shadow to black. Your ears pop with pressure. A thin rope dangles from above, tied around your waist. Safety, they call it, but it wouldn't stop much. If this cage drops, you all go with it. You've seen it happen before. A scream, a snap, a silence. Historians still argue whether Victorian mine owners ever intended to protect their child. Workers or just found cleverer ways to deny responsibility. Your boots hit the mud at the bottom with a squelch. The air down here is thick, wet, and gritty, like breathing through a wool scarf dipped in tar. It smells of rot, coal dust, and fear. You're assigned to the role of trapper today. Lucky you. That means sitting in a dark tunnel, alone, opening and closing a wooden door to control airflow. You don't get to move much. You just sit, hour after hour, in the pitch black, waiting for someone to call out. Some days, no one comes. Your job matters. Technically, the doors help prevent gas buildup. But you're a kid. You don't know about gas explosions. You just know it's cold, it's dark, and the rats don't flinch anymore when they see you. Quirky fact. Some mining companies actually hired singing boys, whose only job was to hum all day, so the pit boss would know they were still alive. You're not a singing boy. You hum to yourself anyway, just to break the silence. You sit on your haunches, listening. The occasional rumble above your head reminds you the mine is alive. It shifts, groans, sometimes it sighs. One wrong step by someone to levels up, and the whole thing might come down like a stack of cards soaked in blood. A cart rattles past. You open the trapdoor quickly. A boy pushing it nods, eyes wide like a cornered rabbit. You nod back. Then you close the door and disappear again into the dark. You keep a small candle stub beside you, but you can't light it much. It wastes oxygen. So mostly, you stare at nothing. Blink into ink. You've begun to imagine shapes, faces, figures, flickers of movement. You don't tell anyone. They'd say you're going soft, and soft boys don't come back up. A cough tears through your throat. You clutch your stomach. It feels raw inside. The coal dust finds its way into everything. You once coughed black for a week straight. The overseer told you to be grateful. Means your lungs are working, he said with a smirk. Historians sometimes debate whether child miners knew the long-term damage they were taking. Some say they didn't live long enough for it to matter. You shift your weight, legs stiff. You try not to cry. Not from pain though, your knees feel like stone, but from knowing this will be your life. Not for a week. Not for a season. For years. Unless you're lucky. Unless you die first. Someone once said the lucky ones die young. You're starting to believe them. Above you, a whistle blows. Shift change coming. You stand, legs trembling, and shuffle toward the main shaft. The rope man nods as he ties you in. His eyes are yellow from the lantern light. He doesn't smile. The ride up feels slower, like the cage resents returning to the surface. Your ears pop again. The air gets lighter. You squint when you see sky. Your fingers are black. Your hair is black. Your teeth, probably too. Everything you wear smells like fire that never quite finishes burning. The overman pats you on the back with a sooty glove. You'll be back tomorrow, he says, as if it's a compliment. You nod. What else can you do? You walk home slow. Your boots leave dark footprints, even on cobblestones. Your lungs hurt, but at least they still hurt. That means they're working. Right. You pass a shop with sugar loaves in the window. A kid your age is inside, licking a peppermint stick. He's wearing a clean coat. You look down at your own sleeves torn threadbare, dusted with coal. You wonder if he's ever seen a rat the size of a cat, or if he knows what it's like to breathe in shadows. When you get to your lodging, you sit outside for a bit, just to feel wind on your skin. A pigeon lands near you. You watch it for a while. It doesn't know about mines. It doesn't know about trapdoors or gas leaks or road burns. You envy it. As the sun disappears behind the chimney stacks, you head inside. The light doesn't follow you. You lie on your cot and close your eyes. You dream of ceilings that don't press down, air that doesn't choke, and voices that don't scream from far below. And then, just like that, morning returns, and so does the shaft. You wake up to frost on your blanket, not outside. Your breath curls like steam in the cold room, and your toes feel like wood. No fire, no coal, just 10 bodies crammed together on thin straw mattresses, all pretending to be asleep a few minutes longer. But it's time. Time to earn your supper. Time to beg. You wrap your shawl tighter around your shoulders and slip out into the street, your boots stiff with ice. You didn't sleep. Well, nobody does. Too much coughing, too much groaning in their sleep. Someone muttered all night about soup, probably dreamed about it. The sun hasn't quite come up yet, but the streets are already alive. Horse hooves clatter past, splashing filthy water from yesterday's rain. A chimney belches out thick smoke nearby, and you duck as a cart nearly clips your elbow. You pull your flower basket tight to your chest, half full, half hope. Today, you're selling violets, or what's left of them. Wilted things, mostly plucked from a graveyard hedge before dawn. You smile as best you can, and approach the passers-by one by one. Flowers, sir, just a penny. He doesn't even look at you. Most of them don't. Fresh flowers, miss, for your sweetheart. The woman wrinkles her nose and pulls her skirts away. You check your sleeves. Are you really that filthy? Maybe you've been wearing this same coat all winter. Historians still argue whether street children in Victorian England were truly invisible to society or if people simply found it easier to look away. You keep moving. That's the trick. Don't stay in one place too long or the bobbies will chase you off. Or worse, someone might recognize you as a loiterer and send for the constable. And then it's the workhouse. You'd rather freeze. A girl your age is selling matches at the corner. You nod at her. She nods back. She has no shoes, just burlap wrapped around her feet and tied with twine. You think your boots are bad. Then again, she probably thinks you're lucky. It starts to snow lightly. The flakes catch in your hair, your lashes. Pretty, if you weren't so cold. You shuffle in place to keep your legs from going numb. Quirky fact. Some children in London learn to fake coughs and limps to look more pitiful for better coins. You tried once. Couldn't keep it up. Your real cough came back before lunch. You glance into the bakery window. Warm loaves. Buttered crumpets. The man behind the counter looks like he's never missed a meal. A boy inside laughs and tugs his mother's hand toward a pastry. You press your nose to the glass just for a moment. The warmth seeps through the pane like a cruel tease. A man passing by drops a coin in your basket. You blink. A halt. You smile a real. Not forced this time and whisper, "Thank you." He doesn't hear. He's already gone. You clutch the coin like it's made of gold. It might as well be bread, maybe even tea. You won't tell the others. They'd want to share, and you're tired of sharing hunger. Later, you try your luck near the theater. Fancy folks coming and going. Laughter in the street. Carriages with gold paint. You offer your last 2 flowers to a woman in fur. She buys one, doesn't speak, just presses the coin into your hand and turns away. You bow low. Not because you want to, because you're supposed to. That's the dance gratitude for scraps. Politeness for survival. As the sky darkens, the streets grow louder. More drunk men. More shouting. More danger. Time to go home. Or at least, to the place you sleep. On the way back, you pass a line of boys playing stickball in the alley. They're loud, rowdy, smiling. For a moment, you want to join them. But one looks over and sneers. "Oi! It's the flower rat!" They laugh. You don't. You walk faster. Historians say Victorian charity was complicated. Some gave food, others gave lectures, most gave nothing. You stop at a rag stall to spend your coin. The woman behind the counter sells you a half-loaf and a piece of cheese wrapped in brown paper. She gives you a nod, not quite kind, not quite cruel, just a human nod. You feel like crying. You eat slowly on the stoop of the lodging house, savoring every crumb. You save a bite for morning. Maybe, inside, someone's crying again. Another girl got kicked out of her nursemaid job. Something about stealing sugar. She swears she didn't. Doesn't matter. No reference. No job. No job. No supper. You huddle under your blanket. The food warm in your belly for once. Your feet tingle with cold, but you tuck them under your skirt and pretend it helps. You close your eyes and dream of things you've never seen. Orange groves, red shoes, clean sheets. Maybe tomorrow you'll sell roses. Maybe tomorrow it won't snow. The word school sounds almost magical to you, like a place where warmth lives, where books don't crumble in your hands, and where people care if you're hungry. But for most children like you, school isn't a place, it's a rumor. So when the factory shuts down for a day of repairs, and the matron at the lodging house announces, a charity school's taking you lot in for the morning, you're not sure how to feel. Skepticism, dread. It turns out to be all three. You trudge with 10 other children through the damp alleyways, past the coal carts and fish stalls, until you reach a squat stone building with a wooden sign. St. Agnes, Ragged School for the Industrious Poor. Sounds fancy. Inside smells like ink and cabbage. A small fireplace huffs in the corner, trying its best. You're shown into a room with wooden benches, rows of slates and chalk pieces, and a tall, angular woman in a bonnet. Miss Palmer, she says. No first names here. She gives you a long look, taking in the torn coat, the soot-stained cheeks, the bruises on your wrists. You sit. The lesson begins with the alphabet. You already know some letters, picked up from posters on street corners or newspapers used as shoe stuffing. You mouth them silently, afraid to get it wrong. The girl beside you stares blankly at the slate like it's made of stars. She's never held chalk before. Historians still argue whether ragged schools were meant to truly educate or simply civilize the poor into docile laborers. Miss Palmer teaches arithmetic next. If one chimney boy earns 4 pence a day and works 6 days a week, you do the sums. Not because you care about numbers, but because money is survival. You think in pence more often than thoughts. She reads a poem about a river. Her voice is calm, steady. For a moment, it feels like everything slows down. The words flow around you like water in a basin. You imagine a river with willows on the bank, sunlight, shoes without holes. Then someone laughs. A boy near the back, cleaner than the rest of you. A paying student. Snorts as you struggle to pronounce a word. Factory rats can't read, he says, like he's reading a headline. Your ears go red. You want to throw the slate, or cry, or both. But you don't. You just lower your head and keep tracing letters. Miss Palmer doesn't scold him. She just moves on. Maybe that's the worst part. Quirky fact. Some Victorian schools offered food as an incentive. 1 bun per lesson passed. 1 cup of soup per page read. Education. Traded like candy. You pass a test on spelling. You get a bun. It's stale. Hard on the outside, soft in the middle. You eat it slower than anything you've ever tasted. Your hands shake while you hold it. You don't even care if people watch. At lunchtime, you're sent out to the yard, a stone rectangle, surrounded by high walls and taller children. You'd find a spot in the corner, near the drain. One of the older girls walks by, tugs your braid, and sneers. Found another chimney ghost, she says. You don't answer. You've been called worse. Back inside, they hand out small books, morale tales for the industrious youth. Yours has missing pages, but you try to read it anyway. It's about a boy who tells the truth and gets rewarded with a pie. You've told the truth plenty. Never got pie. Still, you read, because something in you wants to know, wants to learn the right words. Not just to speak, but to leave. One day, maybe you could write your own story. One where kids don't sleep cold. One where factory floors don't eat fingers. One where nobody ever has to count matchsticks again. You stay late, pretending to erase your slate extra slowly. Miss Palmer doesn't stop you. You wonder if she knows you're savoring the silence, the books, the warmth of not being watched like a cog in a gear. As you walk back home, your steps feel lighter. Not because you're happy, but because today wasn't just survival. It was something more. A glimpse, a whisper, a door not yet closed. Back at the lodging house, someone stole your crust from under the pillow. You don't mind too much. You're used to hunger, but not everyone's used to hope. Before bed, you trace letters on your blanket, over and over. ABC like a spell, like a prayer. Maybe tomorrow, the factory will still be broken. You're not in the mill or the mine today. You've been hired out as a nursemaid. Sounds important, doesn't it? Almost elegant. But don't let the title fool you. It doesn't come with ribbons or warm beds. It comes with blisters and a child that screams if the jam's not red enough. The house you work in is bigger than any you've seen. 3 floors, tall windows, a brass door knocker, shaped like a lion. The kind of place you'd expect a queen to live. But inside, it's quieter than your street. Somehow, the walls are clean. Even the rugs look like they've never seen a footstep. You shift on your feet, gripping your skirts tightly as the mistress gives you a... "This is her," she says to the butler, as if you're a pot that just arrived broken. "She'll do," he replied. And just like that, you're the girl. You're not given a name in this house. Historians still argue whether domestic service offered poor children protection, or simply moved their suffering behind closed doors. The child you're meant to care for is named Henry. He's 4. He has more toys than you have fingers, and more opinions than any grown man you've met. He doesn't like cold milk, or scratchy stockings, or you. The first time he throws his wooden horse at your face, the mistress clucks her tongue and says, "Oh, he's spirited." You bleed from your lip, but nod anyway. Your job is to follow him, catch him if he climbs things he shouldn't, take the blame when he does it anyway. You sleep in a cupboard beneath the stairs. Literally, it smells like floor polish and damp linen. Your mattress is an old dog bed. You're not allowed to use the main stairs. Servants take the back routes, the narrow ones that feel like they were built for mice. At breakfast, you stand. You don't eat. At playtime, you clap when Henry builds a tower, even if he knocks it down on purpose, just to watch you flinch. At nap time, you hush him with made-up lullabies, ones you barely remember from your own baby days. He bites you once, leaves a mark. You say nothing. The mistress said nothing too. Quirky fact: many wealthy Victorians believed that working-class children were naturally more robust and could endure more strain. That's why no one worries when you don't sit down for 12 hours. The cook in the kitchen slips you a crust when she can. Her name is Elsie. She's been working here 20 years and says, if you keep your mouth shut and your hands busy, you'll survive. You hope she's right, but it's hard. Especially when Henry locks you in the greenhouse for 2 hours and laughs when you cry. Especially when you're forced to scrub out the wash basin with your bare hands, using lye that makes your fingers peel. Especially when the other servants pretend not to know you exist. You're too small, too temporary. You dream of the mill, sometimes terrible as it was. At least the pain was shared. Here, your suffering is quiet, hidden behind lace curtains and perfectly folded napkins. Still, there's a strange comfort in the rhythm. Up at dawn, dress the child, wipe his nose, fetch the bowl, say sorry when he steps on your foot and blames you. At night, after everyone's asleep, you sometimes sneak into the hall where the books are. You can't read most of them, but you like to touch the covers. One is red velvet, another smells like old flowers. For a second, you imagine being someone who owns books, not just touches them in the dark. Historians have noted that many nursemaids were dismissed without notice, for reasons as small as a wrinkle in a collar. You remember that every time you button Henry's coat with trembling hands. And yet there's one moment, one strange day when he sits beside you on the rug and hands you a biscuit. Doesn't say a word. Just gives it to you. Like a truce. You don't know what to say. So you don't say anything. You just eat it. Slowly. Because that's all you can do. You survive this house like a ghost lives in a wall, quiet, watchful, hoping not to be noticed unless absolutely necessary. And when your 3-week trial ends, the mistress tells you, you're too plain. The child doesn't like you. You nod, curtsy, and leave. No references, no coin, just the bruises and the biscuit, still crumbling in your memory like something too good to have happened. The street is wet with rain. You walk back to the lodging house in silence, your shoes squelching, and as you pass the iron gate, you realize being poor in public is one thing. Being poor in a palace is worse. The river stinks before you see it. You can smell it. 3 streets aware at fish guts, old boots, and the kind of muck that clings to your throat. The Thames isn't blue, or calm, or romantic like the poems say. It's brown, and it's dangerous. But it's where you work today. You're a mudlocker, scavenger of the river's edge. Your job, wade into the water at low tide and find things that might sell. Nails, buttons, bones, bits of cloth, broken clay pipes, anything. It all has value to someone, somewhere. You pull your boots tight though, they've got holes, and tie your sleeves back with string. The others are already picking through the shoreline. Eyes sharp, fingers quick. You nod at a boy you know. His name is Tom. He doesn't smile back. No one smiles here. You step into the sludge. It squelches around your ankles, cold as death. The first few steps always make you wince. but soon your legs go numb. That's better. You can't feel the cuts then. You spot a rib bone. Pig. Probably. Into the sack. It goes, then. Half a spoon. Broken, but brass. Could be worth a farthing. You scrape muck away from a dark shape. A shoe sole. No top. Just a leather base. You pocket it anyway. You're not alone down here. There are bone pickers. 2 kids who search through butcher's bins for bits of marrow. There are toshers who sneak into sewers to find scrap metal. And there are pure finders who collect dog dung for tanneries. You suppose, by comparison, historians still argue whether Victorian scavenger trades were enterprising efforts of the urban poor, or just a polite term for structured desperation. You sink deeper as the tide pulls away, revealing more treasure and more risk. Someone shouts from the next bend, "Dead cat." You look away. Not because it's gross, but because sometimes it's not a cat. The water races fast when the tide turns. You keep one eye on the river and one on your sack. The trick is not to be greedy. Stay too long and you drown. It's that simple. You find a copper coin caked in grime. You scrub it against your coat sleeve. It's real, sort of bent, but metal. You tuck it into the secret pocket sewn into your waistband. Tom shouts again. He's found a pocket watch. Broken glass. No chain, but the gears are inside. That might fetch a shilling. You're about to call back when you slip. Your foot sinks into a deeper patch of silt, and suddenly you're on your knees. The shock of cold water up to your chest knocks the breath out of you. You gasp, flailing, mud splashing into your mouth. You taste iron. You hear someone yelling. You push off a rock and scramble upright, heart pounding. You're shaking all over. Your sack is gone, washed down river in an instant. Tom pulls you back toward shore without a word, just a firm hand on your elbow. You both stand dripping on the cobblestones, watching the tide steal your morning's labor. Quirky fact: the Thames was once declared a dead river because it was so full of waste. Nothing could live in it. But here you are, very much alive, smelling like its ghost. You walk home with sloshing boots and black under your fingernails. Your fingers are so cold they buzzed. At the pawn shop, you offer the copper coin and the bent spoon you kept in your coat. The man behind the counter squints, grunts, and hands you half a loaf and a coin that's almost not counterfeit. You thank him anyway. That's the game. Back at the lodging house, you dry your socks near the stove. Someone else is talking about a girl who drowned last week near Southwark. Went in too deep, they said, trying to pull up a length of rope she thought was jewelry. It wasn't. You nod. Everyone nods. No one says much more. Historians say Victorian children knew the value of hard work. You suppose that's true. You know exactly what your life costs, and you'd pay for it, in bruises, frostbite, and whatever the river doesn't steal from you. As you lie down that night, skin still damp and sore, you dream of cleaner water. Water that doesn't bite your legs, or try to swallow your name. Maybe a sea, maybe a stream, maybe a bath. But for now, the river is your boss, and it never sleeps. The stone walls of the workhouse loom like a fortress, and you know before stepping in that warmth is not part of the welcome. You've never been inside one until now, but you've heard the stories. Everyone has. You step through the tall iron gate, a bundle of rags under your arm, and a knot in your stomach. The gate clangs shut behind you like it means to keep you in forever. "Nain," barks the clerk without looking up. You hesitate. Not because you've forgotten, but because you're wondering if this version of you still counts as that name. He writes it down anyway, probably spelled wrong. Then you're led to the intake room. The walls are bare, painted a sickly shade of something that might have once been cream. You're told to undress. Your clothes are taken away and replaced with a stiff uniform that smells like soap and something older. Your hair is cut short, uneven, fast. The scissors bite your scalp more than once, but no one flinches, least of all you. Then, the rules: silence unless spoken to. No reading except scripture. No talking during meals. No sitting unless told. No friends. You nod, though your heart sinks with each one. Historians still argue whether workhouses were designed to help the poor or to punish them for existing. You're assigned a bunk more, like a shelf, really in a room with 20 other girls. No pillows, just straw and a blanket that barely earns the name. The girl above you has lice. You can see them in her hairline when she leans down. Breakfast is served in a giant hall with high ceilings and no sound. Gruel, watery and warm, like someone waved oats over hot water and called it done. You eat every drop. Then it's time for your task. Today, you're scrubbing laundry. The workhouse doesn't have a machine for that, you. Or the machine. You dip sheets into basins of scalding water, scrub them against a ridged board until your knuckles crack, then wring them out and start again. Over and over. You wonder if the same ones will just come back tomorrow. It wouldn't surprise you. Next week, they say you'll be picking oakum, tearing apart old ropes for reuse. It ruined your nails and your wrists. Some kids go mute after doing it too long. Just stop speaking. Quirky fact. Oakum picking was originally prison labor, but by the 1800s, workhouses decided it was just harsh enough to build character in the poor. You're not sure what kind of character they're building in you. Probably one made of blisters and silence. Lunchtime comes, but it isn't much better. A crust of bread, a dipper of broth. You swallow it like it's gold. Someone coughs. You glance sideways. She looks worse than usual. Pale, hollowed eyes. You've heard of kids vanishing overnight. Fever, mostly. Or maybe they were too loud. Either way, you don't ask. Your hands ache by evening. You're not allowed to rest. Not properly. There's a chapo service, then chore inspection. The floor must gleam. The beds must align. Even your shoes, if you have them, must be in a perfect row. You wonder if that's the real goal of the workhouse. Not work. Not salvation. But obedience. Historians point out that many workhouses had death rates higher than prisons. You believe it. At least prisoners got regular meals and weren't beaten for blinking at the wrong time. You make your bed and lie down stiffly. The lice itch. You scratch, knowing it'll make it worse. But your hands don't know how else to feel alive. A girl cries in the next bunk. Softly. Carefully. The matron walks past with a lantern. You all just lie. Their eyes open, staring at shadows that look like bars. Someone once told you the workhouse is better than the street. Maybe. At least on the street you had choices. Bread or coal. Flour selling or chimney crawling. Here, the choice is one. Survive quietly, or don't. As your eyes drift closed, you imagine a different world. One where walls don't hold you in, but hold out the cold. Where beds are soft, and soup has flavor. Where kindness is more than a rumor. But this is not that world. This is the workhouse. And you have laundry in the morning. The cane whistles before it lands. You don't cry out, "Yeah, learnt not to buy the second week." Crying gets you nothing. Not pity. Not rest. Only another stroke for noise. Your hand stings. Your knuckles bloom red where the wood found flesh. You flex your fingers under the table when the overseer turns his back. The pain is sharp, but it's the silence that cuts deeper. You're in the punishment hole. Again, this time for yawning during chapo. The matron claimed it was deliberate disrespect. You weren't even trying to be rude. You were just tired. So tired. You've been tired since you can remember. Discipline is the language of this place. Whether it's the mill, the mine, or the workhouse. Punishment comes quickly and without discussion. It only matters that you're small enough to blame. The girl beside you sniffs once. Quietly. She's new. Her skirt still has color in it. You give her a sideways glance, a tiny nod that says, "Just hold on. It gets worse," but you survive anyway. Historians still argue whether Victorian punishments were meant to correct behavior or simply to control a workforce too powerless to fight back. This place uses three main tools: the cane, the strap, and the chair. The cane is for hands, sometimes legs. The strap is for backs, especially when someone answers back. The chair, that's for when they want you to. It's high, with arm restraints and no cushion. You sit there for hours, locked upright, while they read aloud sermons on humility and shame. You once spent half a day in the chair because someone else dropped a tray and no one confessed. The floor was quiet except for the ticking of the clock, and your breath growing shallower. Quirky fact: in some institutions, children were gagged with cloth soaked in vinegar as a form of moral correction. You've never had that, but you know a boy who did. He doesn't speak anymore. Not because of the vinegar, because nobody ever asked him to after. There are rumors about the cellar. No one confirms it. You've never seen it. But sometimes, a child disappears for a few days and comes back different. Quieter. Paler. Like they've aged a year in a weekend. One boy tried to run once. Made it past the yard. Over the outer wall. Even down the alley. They caught him near the bakery, stealing a crust from a windowsill. They brought him back barefoot and bleeding. The headmaster made the entire hall watch his punishment. Said it would make an example. You remember standing in that line, your fists clenched, your stomach churning. You didn't look away. Not because you were brave, because you were terrified to miss a signal that would tell you what not to do next. After that, no one tried to run again. At least, Not that you know of. You've become very good at disappearing in plain sight. You move quietly. You speak softly. You always say thank you, even when given nothing. Someone once said the cane teaches manners. You think it just teaches children how to flinch in advance. Today's session ends without blood. That's considered a good day. You're sent back to chores with a stiff back and a sore hand. Your task is dusting the ledges above the hall windows. You're handed a cloth and told to climb the stool. It wobbles. You wobbled with it. You imagine phoning the crack of your elbow on stone, the gasp of the matron, the hush of everyone watching. You almost want to fall, just for a break, but you don't. You catch your balance and wipe the dust in steady circles. Lips pressed tight. Below, two girls scrub the floor. One is mouthing a nursery rhyme under her breath. You recognize it. Something about boats and dreams and silver spoons. You haven't heard it in years. You whisper the next line. The girl hears. She smiles. Tiny rebellion. That's all you get. Dinner is a ladle of stew. Thin. Carrots. Maybe something pretending to be meat. You eat it all. You lick the spoon. You trade half your crust for an old shoeless yours broke last week. And you're tired of tripping. Before bed, the matron walks the dormitory with her lantern. She doesn't speak. She doesn't have to. Her boots do it for her. Tap, 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 you lie still. Eyes closed. Breathing even. A creak. Someone shifts. The lantern pauses. When the door clicks shut, a long exhale fills the room. Not just yours. Everyone's. You dream of wide fields, of soft grass, of sunlight that doesn't glare. A world where rules are gentle and voices are kind. But in the morning, the bell will ring again, and you'll learn, all over again, how to keep your head low. The spinning room is too bright and too loud. The windows are high and narrow, letting in shafts of dusty light that never seem to reach the floor. Everything hums: the machines, the walls, the very air. It's as if you've been swallowed by a mechanical beast, and now you're part of its heartbeat. You stand at your post, eyes heavy, fingers trembling. You're 12, maybe 13, though no one's keeping count but you. You haven't slept properly in 3 nights. Not since they extended the shifts again. 14 hours yesterday. 15 today. If the machines keep up, you'll hit 16 before sunset. The supervisor calls it overtime. You call it barely standing. You pull cotton threads from the bobbins with a rhythm that has long since left your conscious mind. One snag, one tangle, and you'll fall behind. And falling behind in the spinning room means a visit from the overseer. His cane is thinner than the one in the punishment hall, but faster, more personal. Historians still argue whether child laborers were kept awake intentionally, or if factory owners simply didn't believe exhaustion could kill you. You blink just once. Your knees nearly buckle. You brace yourself on the wooden frame. The wood is slick with oil. You're not even sure who's. You're so tired your eyes won't focus. Everything swims slightly. The threads blur like spiderwebs in a breeze. You hear a shriek. It's not you this time. The girl at the next station has caught her hair in the machine. A tangle, then a pull, then a cry that slices through the humming like a blade through paper. The machine halts. Too late. She stumbles back, a bloody patch above her ear, her braid half gone. Someone rushes over, then someone else. A moment of chaos. You keep working. You want to help, but you can't afford to stop. The machine doesn't care about hair, or blood, or screams. The girl is pulled away, dazed and shaking. The machine starts again before the stain is even wiped off the floor. Quirky fact. Some factories issued caps to prevent hair entanglements. Others simply advised children to tie it up properly. If not, it was their fault. You adjust your scarf tighter around your head. You don't have much hair left to lose anyway. The hours stretch. You press your feet hard into the ground just to feel them again. Your boots rub your ankles raw. You shift your weight, trying to wake up your legs. A sharp whistle blows. Break. 10 minutes. You sit on the cold floor near the water bucket. Your hands shake as you lift the tin ladle to your lips. The water tastes like metal and dust, but you drink deeply. Someone offers a crust of bread. You break it in half and pass it on. No one says thank you. Not because they're rude, because it's understood. The girl with the torn scalp is gone. You don't ask where. You return to your posts. The thread winds. Your head dips. Just once. Your eyes flutter. Then, a crack across your back. The overseer is there. His expression doesn't change. He doesn't yell. He never yells. Just raises his arm and brings the switch down again. You sleep. You stop. He says. You nod. Not because you agree, because the pain sharpened you. if only for a moment. You make a game of counting threads. 1, 2, 3. You whisper the numbers under your breath like a lullaby in reverse. Around you, other children blink and sway. One boy mutters nonsense to himself. You think he's counting clouds? There are no clouds in here. The room never changes. The machines never slow. Only you do. At some point, you catch a reflection in a pane of glass. You barely recognize the face. Sunken eyes, pale lips, hollow cheeks. You look older than your mother did when she died. You shake your head and return to the thread. The light outside is beginning to fade. You're close. So close. One final pull. One final knot. One final bell. You release your breath as the machines slow. The hum fades to silence. Your body buzzes in the absence of it. You file out with the others. Legs numb. Mouth dry. Back sore. No one speaks. No one celebrates. The day is over. That is all. Outside, the air feels like cold water. You close your eyes and let it hit your face. It smells like coal and cabbage and horse's butt. It's not spinning. You walk home with your arms crossed tightly over your chest. Inside your coat is a scrap of cloth you snuck from the waste bin. Red, soft. You like how it feels in your pocket? Like something pretty, something yours. You lie down on your cot and hold it between your fingers, letting your eyes close slowly. And for once, before sleep takes you, you imagine something else. A room with no machines. A night with no cracks of cane. A life with rest. Sunday arrives like a sigh. Not a restful one, just a different kind of tired. The factory is closed. The overseer absent. The machines finally silent. You're not sure what to do with the quiet. It makes your ears ring. But this isn't a day of leisure. It's scrub day. The matron knocks on your bunk with her knuckles and barks. Everyone out soaps in the yard. You rise. Muscles stiff. Scalp itchy. You've been waiting for this. In a strange way. There's something satisfying about getting the dirt off. Even if it's with freezing water and lye that eats your skin. You join the line in the courtyard. Dozens of kids, arms folded, eyes puffy from the early call. A few shuffle their feet. One whistles. The matron slaps her ledger against her palm. The whistling stops. One by one, you're handed a tin basin and a hunk of what passes for sober gray brick. Sharp-edged and smelling like ashes and lemons. Sands mixed in to help scrub. Historians still argue whether these weekly bath routines were acts of dignity or just another tool of control. You strip to your shift and step into the corner. The wind bites immediately. You try not to shiver, it makes the scrubbing harder. You pour half a ladle of water over your head. It hits like you gasp, teeth clacking. Then scrub quickly, roughly, chasing the dirt from your skin with sand and cloth. Your arms redden. Your knees sting. Your back's still sore from yesterday's cane. The soap stings too. A cut on your finger burns like fire. You keep going. Behind you, a boy starts to cry. He's small, maybe 7. His lips are blue. Keep moving. Someone snaps. Cold's no excuse for filth. Quirky fact. Victorian health reformers claimed cleanliness would elevate the moral character of the poor, which is why they gave you sand instead of towels. You rinse off with another ladle. It feels colder than the first. You'll blink away the tears. No drying cloths. You flap your arms a bit to warm up, then dress quickly. Your shirt sticks to your damp back. Your hair freezes into strands that crack when you bend your neck. The clean clothes are a misnomer. They're yours. Yes, but still patched, stiff, and slightly damp from the shared wash line. Still, you feel lighter, less crusted in the grime of machines and floor dust. Some kids take pride in scrubbing their shoes with spit to make them shine. Others rub their cheeks to bring color back. There's a strange dignity in these little routines. A reminder that you're human. You brush your hair with your fingers, best you can. Afterward, the dormitory fills with the smell of soap and sour feet. You all line up for inspection. The matron walks by, checking hands, nails, collars. She stops at yours. Hem's torn, she mutters. You look down. Just a thread, barely visible. She makes a note anyway. You won't get sugar in your tea this week. Later, you're allowed into the common room for prayer readings. No one prays out loud, but you. The reader has a gentle voice. The words don't stick, but the softness does. You sit with a girl named Elsie and trace shapes on the floorboards. She says one day, she own a ribbon. A red one. Maybe even silk. You nod. You dream smaller warm socks. Maybe a soft towel. The day drags on. Time seems to bend on Sundays. Without work, The hours stretch and sag. You think more. You remember more. Sometimes that's the worst part. You remember the chimney, the river, the bite mark from Henry, the scream in the spinning room. You shake your head, focused on something else. Dinner is better today. A thin slice of meat, a ladle of thick broth. No seconds, of course, but no one complains. You chew slowly, savoring it. You tuck a corner of bread into your pocket for later. Always save a bit. After the meal, the matron gives a short talk about cleanliness, obedience, and the blessings of structure. You nod like everyone else. But part of you itches scrubbed skin or something deeper. You can't tell. That night, your bunk smells faintly of soap. The blanket sticks to your arms. You curl up, pressing your knees to your chest. You dream of hot water, soft cloth, and a quiet bath where no one watches, where no one shouts. You wake before dawn, and your hands already feel dirty again. But for a few hours, you were clean. And in this life, that's enough to count. The sky above the rooftops is a dusty pink, like someone tried to paint it clean but ran out of color. You're sitting on the edge of a sloped slate roof, your heels hooked under a crooked drain pipe, arms wrapped around your knees. It's not exactly safe, but then again, what part of your life is? You're not here to work. Not right now. You're here to look. From up here, the city breathes. Smoke rises from chimneys in every direction. Church bells toll in the distance. Somewhere below, cots clatter, dogs bark, and someone's already shouting about bread. This is your escape. You found this rooftop by accident a few months ago, a loose window latch in the laundry stairwell. You slipped through one morning when the others were still asleep and climbed the narrow beams to the top. Ever since, it's been your secret. You come here when the world gets too loud. You swing your legs gently and imagine a ship. A big one, with sails that catch real wind, not just smoke. You picture yourself standing on the deck, arms spread, face in the sun. No soot, no straps, no bells, just water stretching forever. Maybe you'd sail to Egypt or India, places you've only seen on crumpled newspapers stuffed into your shoes. You wonder if their children climb chimneys too. You hope not. Historians still argue whether poor Victorian children dreamed of adventure or simply longed for stillness. You pull a scrap of cloth from your pocket, the red one. You tie it loosely around your wrist. It flutters in the breeze like a flag, a signal to no one, but it makes you smile. Quirky fact: some orphans believed that tying red ribbons or thread to their sleeves would bring luck, especially if stolen from a rich house. You didn't steal yours. You saved it. That's different. Below, a woman yells at a butcher. A man in a bowler hat chases his runaway dog. A child giggles from a window, playing with a spinning top. You stare at that child for a long time. He's laughing with no one chasing him, no one yelling, just laughing. You wonder what that feels like. A gust of wind tugs at your coat. You tighten your grip on the pipe. It rattles slightly, reminding you how thin the line is between now and never. You shift backward, safer now, and lie flat against the warm slate tiles. Your back aches. Your ribs are sore from the last punishment, but the sun soaks through your coat and makes you feel something like peace. You close your eyes and imagine a garden. It has lavender, maybe, and plums. You've never eaten a plum, but you've seen one once on a lady's plate at the theater steps. It gleamed like treasure. You dream about its taste. Sometimes you imagine being a writer. Not that you can write well yet, but you could learn. You imagine telling stories that start in soot but end in silk. Tales of brave girls who run away, not from punishment but towards something beautiful. You sigh. The dream fades, like the warmth from the tiles as the sun dips. It's getting dark. You sit up and take one last look. Rooftops like broken teeth stretch in all directions. Some glow with firelight. Others sit cold and silent. Somewhere in them are children, just like you, scrubbing, sewing, crawling, coughing. But up here, for one more minute, you're not them. You're you, and you are more than the work, more than the wounds, more than the name in the ledger. You whisper something into the wind. Not a prayer, not a wish, just ... Because tomorrow you'll be back under the weight of it all. But tonight, the stars belong to you. The bed next to yours is empty this morning. You stare at the rumpled blanket, still creased with the shape of someone who never got up. No one says her name. No one asks where she went. But you know, everyone knows. She's one of them, now the ones who vanish in the night. The ones who don't come back. You rise slowly. Not from tiredness, from caution. Because today, more than most days, you feel the walls pressing closer. The whispers are louder. The silence is heavier. You tie your shoes with shaking hands. You didn't know her well just enough to nod at her across the breakfast table. Her hair was always plaited neatly. She hummed when she swept. Now she's gone, and no one will write it down. Historians still debate whether child labor reform came to La Torre, if it was never meant to come at all. Today, you're in the storeroom, stacking coal, not your usual post. Maybe they're rotating shifts. Maybe they're watching. Maybe they think silence will keep the rest of you from following her. The coal dust makes your throat dry. You breathe shallowly, trying not to cough. Another girl leans close and whispers, "She was sick. That's all. But you know better. Sick girls get medicine. Vanished girls don't." You stack another chunk of coal and stare out the narrow window. Just sky. No rooftops. No stars. The matron walks by. Her eyes flicker over the row of workers like counting sheep. You lower your gaze. Her boots click once, then again, and fade. Quirky fact. Some Victorian children wore tags around their necks. Not with names, but with workhouse numbers. It was easier to replace a number than a name. You feel invisible today. Not hidden, not protected. Just ... faded. Later in the dining hall, someone dares to speak. A boy. Brave. Stupid. "What happened to Mags?" he asks. Everyone freezes. The room stills like someone has snuffed the sun. The matron doesn't blink. "She was weak," she says. "Weakness has no place here." The boy is gone by sundown. His cart is already stripped when you pass it. You don't ask where he went. You don't need to. Tonight, you lie awake long after the bell. You trace patterns on the mattress with your finger. 3 circles. A line. A star. You remember that star-shaped crack on the roof tile. You remember your name. And you remember hers. Because someone has to. The air grows quiet now. The noise of the factory fades. The soot settles. The river no longer bites at your ankles. The cane no longer stings your back. And the girl who vanished, she lingers only in memory, tender, persistent, true. You lie in a bed. A real one this time. The pillow is soft beneath your cheek. No one's watching. There are no bells. No boots, just the whisper of blankets as you shift into comfort. Your hands don't ache. Your chest rises slowly with calm breath. The stories of the spinning room, the chimney, the mine, and the match factory, they settle like dust on old windows. Distant but not forgotten. You survived each one, thread by thread, step by step. Let the cold water of the Sunday scrubs wash away. Let the rooftop stars return. The red ribbon on your wrist flutters in the breeze of a better dream. In this world, this soft, slow, safe world, you are no longer just one of the forgotten. You are remembered. You are real. And you are resting now. Let the gears stop turning. Let the sky hold you. Sleep comes easy here. Sleep is yours. You made it. Sleep well.